The Maple Leafs beat the Ducks, but suffer a big blow between the pipes. Let's break it all down on today's edition of the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast, a daily Maple Leaf-centric podcast hosted by myself, Mike DiStefano, and my co-host, Dave Morassutti. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. The Maple Leafs were favored heavily against the Anaheim Ducks in last night's hockey game. I think I saw on FanDuel got as high as I think 430 or minus 450. Heavy favorites, and they just squeaked out the win. 3-2 was the final for the Toronto Maple Leafs. But I think it was a game that Toronto pretty well controlled from start to finish. But the big story coming out of it isn't the fact that they picked up 2 points. It's the fact that they may have lost their goaltender, Anthony Stolarz, for a little bit. Came up, well, we're not even sure exactly what happened. He just didn't come out to start the second period. Joseph Woll, all of a sudden, was starting in goal to start the period. The declaration was a lower body injury. After the game, Coach Berube said they would know more tomorrow. Not a good situation for the Maple Leafs here, Dave. Stolarz have been playing some excellent hockey for them.
Yeah, like I had a direct line of sight to Stolarz. Like I was watching him, and then period changes on the other side. I see them come out on the ice.
Oh, you were at the game.
I was at the game. Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's not Anthony Stolarz in that. That's Joseph Woll.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the heck happened to Stolarz?
And Woll.
Yeah, he got the Woll. Yeah, Stoley pulled a Wollie in this one. I didn't see, like, I looked back on the replay of the goal that Anaheim scored, and people were saying that he was stretching a bit of his right leg or right side after the goal, and maybe that's where it happened. Like, there was nothing to me that suggested something had happened. So it felt very Joseph Woll-esque that what happened. It's just a goalie thing. When goalies don't feel something's not right, considering the stretching and stuff that they have to do, I wasn't surprised that even if it's like something minor, they're gonna take him out. And watching Joseph Woll after that, every time he had to stretch for a save, do that little action, I'm like, please get up. Okay, you're gonna be like, we don't want it. I don't want an e-bug situation tonight. Like, it was there for a friend's birthday. The last thing I want is for that game to get, soured because of an e-bug situation.
Yeah, we did not need to see an e-bug in this one, but yeah, like I'm just right now pulling it up, looking at what people think could have been the injury, and it did look like after he had allowed the goal, he gave a little stretch to the knee. It seemed like a little groin stretch, possibly. So maybe that's the situation. I don't know, but it's never a good sign when a goaltender has to pull himself out of the game after one period of play. And hopefully it's nothing long term. Maybe it was just precautionary, but based on the answer, we'll know more tomorrow. It maybe means that it's not going to be a super short term situation here. It doesn't appear like we'll see Stolarz this weekend for the back-to-back against Detroit and Buffalo. So they're going to have to call someone up, and this now has to be Joseph Woll's time to shine. Right, this is an opportunity for him to step up. I thought he played well when he had got the call. He came in. He only gave up 1 goal throughout the game, so he played well enough to win the hockey game for the Maple Leafs. The team played well in front of him. Didn't give a whole lot of high grade chances to the Ducks. I think they had 3 high danger chances, according to Natural Stat Trick, throughout the entire game at 5-on-5. So, I thought the team played well. It just is going to have that kind of dark cloud under it that they lost the goalie here.
Yeah, and Joseph will play really well coming into that situation, but he was also very puck happy, like just playing the puck a lot
Yeah.
and played it a lot to the other team, the guys that are wearing the orange helmets. I would have thought the orange helmets would have been a dead giveaway to not give them the puck. There was a lot of that, a lot of sloppy
He
passing
thought they were
tonight.
pylons, and he was trying to hit the pylon. Like in practice, sometimes they try and hit targets. Maybe that was it.
Anybody watching that game, I don't know if you noticed, there was two guys on the front row in front of the glass. They were wearing these two bright neon orange hats. And a buddy of mine thought the Leafs had scored because he saw the hat. And I'm like, we talking about this? Two guys wearing these just outrageously bright orange hats.
That's funny.
Yeah, this was a game that so many opportunities like Nylander. Oh my god. There was one breakaway that one chance he had where he absolutely undressed the Ducks player and just couldn't get the shot to go off. Like just couldn't.
Yeah.
There were a lot of those tonight. Matthews had a lot of chances. I know some people were like, he messed. There was that one in tight goalie had the angle on him, and he just tried to just get it up and past him. But
Well, and then there was the one I think it was in the first period. Like the Leafs, like Marner did a good job of creating a turnover, and then Nyes gets the puck and he feeds it down low to Matthews, who's all alone. He tries to go short side, glove side on the goalie, but the no-name goaltender ends up making a nice glove stop and just pure robbery on that play. But there was a lot of opportunities just like that tonight. The Leafs definitely came out to play this game, and Stolarz is a good goalie. He really is a good goaltender. Came into the game with a 921 save percentage. So, it's tough to beat him. It's a team that gives up a lot of opportunities. But when you've got a good goalie like that, sometimes you're not going to find the back of the net. So Toronto did struggle to score, but at least you saw the offensive generation. At least the process was there at the very least, which has not been the case over the last 5 games. They've had the worst expected goals in the NHL over the last 5 games. Tonight, they definitely outplayed Anaheim. At their expected goals at 5-on-5 throughout the game, 71%. So they certainly were the better team tonight. So they were due and owed the full 2 points, and they certainly got it. And they certainly got a really good outing from that second line, the vets. Max Pacioretty, 3-point night. He will probably come up in the next segment when we get to our 3 stars of the game. We'll do that next here on the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks, you can now win 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Prize Picks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy, so your lineups stay in play even if one of your players gets injured or if they leave in the first half and don't return. Prize Picks keeps your lineup live. Prize Picks puts its members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money back in as quick as 15 minutes. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks is the best way to win real money this fantasy season. Which players are going off, which ones aren't. Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long with Prize Picks. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Today's episode also brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NHL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NHL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets when you place that first $5 bet. If you take a look this weekend, the Maple Leafs in action against the Detroit Red Wings. They're favored. Place $5, win that bet. you'll get yourself $150 of bonus bets if you are a new user. That's on FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the Locked On Network. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DiStefano, Dave Morassutti with you as we are each and every weekday, Monday through Friday, with brand new episodes free and available wherever you get a podcast, and also up on YouTube. The Toronto Maple Leafs with a 3-2 win over the Anaheim Ducks. Should have been more. Mitch Marner, not once, but twice, missing a couple open nets there at the end of the game to ice it. And I know a lot of people had Marner bets, I'm sure, tonight on their parlay. I thought it was going to be point night. Like we talked about how it was going to be a big night, especially for the big boys. And it kind of looked like it early on, like Toronto went up 2-0 pretty early, and were generating a lot of chances early on. It's like, okay, maybe this is the offensive eruption that the team's been looking for, specifically at 5-on-5. But then the Dostal really did shut the door in the second and third period and didn't allow a whole lot.
Yeah, he was really good tonight, but like the Leafs were generating, as you said, like quite a few opportunities, and not just like chance in front of that, like a lot of on-man rushes, breakaways.
Yeah.
Like it was a lot of that tonight, and yeah, Marner especially, those two empty netters. The first one, okay, just missed. The second one, it's like he had a couple more strides, and he could have at least gone over the red line, over center ice, so he didn't take the icing on it.
It annoys me so much when players don't do that. Like if the opposition's giving you those 2 extra strides to skate it over the red line, avoid the icing call, take it. Why are you rushing? Take it. Oh, it bothers me so much when they don't.
Yeah, so like this was a game where I thought that they really could have had just an absolute tear. And I honestly, like that second line, we're gonna bring it up. They got unlucky sometimes, like because I thought they were unreal tonight. Like we saw how good they were prior to Max Pacioretty getting hurt, and I thought would have been easy just to put that trio back together as soon as Pacioretty got back. I was questioning why it didn't happen. And I think Craig Berube realizes, I'm just going to keep that going for the next little bit.
Well, he heard the podcast and he was like, man, Dave was right. Like, why didn't I put Patches back with Tavares? It was a duo that worked. Why did I go away from that? So it's a good thing that you mentioned it on the other podcast, because Berube heard, he listened, and learned from his mistakes. So you're welcome, Craig. You're welcome for that suggestion. I know you got it from us, not your own brain. Speaking of, though, like Pacioretty, you're right. He was very clearly all over it tonight. And that whole second line as a whole, they were terrific. 72% expected goals. They were generating so much all night long. I mean, Nylander scored a goal, Pacioretty with a couple of goals, and I think Nylander had 7 shots too, 6 individual high danger chances he was credited with. So he was all over it tonight, and that second line as a whole was, and they make up a good majority of the 3 stars for me. I'd imagine they do for you as well. Who was your first star of the night, Dave?
I went with Max Pacioretty. He was the first star of the game and the arena. Just unbelievable night from him. The first goal, the effort to get to the puck. Like it looked like Dostal hurt himself on the first goal of the game. I don't know if you saw that. He was dealing looked like his hand kind of got caught as he was trying to come across and make the save, and he got caught with his own defenseman in front. And then the second goal, I honestly had no idea he tipped it. It wasn't until I looked up and he's the one celebrating the goal, because Connor Timmins absolutely rifled that shot.
Yes.
And just and again, we saw it in the preseason. This guy's got a pretty good sense of those tips in front, especially on those type of chances. So it's a nice little
nose for the net, and it's exactly what Chief wants this team to do. He talked a lot about how the team needs to shoot more. Connor Timmins, get puck, shoot puck. But then he talked about how he needs more guys in front of the net, whether it's a net front presence via screen or possibly get some tip pucks. Maybe they can create a rebound or two and bang away at those. And that's a way to generate some more goals, right? Dirty, rotten, garbage goals. That's how you score in the playoffs. The one that Pacioretty scored, both goals that Pacioretty scored, that's how you score come postseason, right? So I do love to see those greasy garbage goals, like, on your belly, just kind of getting to a loose puck and scooping it in and then just going right to the net. A shot from the point gets tipped and redirected and just goes a little high and goes over the glove of the goaltender. Like, that's exactly how you score come playoff time. So it's good to see. And that's what Max Pacioretty was brought in to do. And he executed that to perfection tonight, and it's exactly what you want to see from him. So, him coming back, we talked about how he should be able to add a little bit more, offensive scoring, a little more offensive punch and deepen this lineup. McMahon's going to be coming back pretty soon. He was spotted skating at practice today. He should continue to add more layers of offense to this group. So I like his game specifically tonight. He was my first star as well. My second star was his line mate, who we've talked a lot about tonight as well. And that was one Mr. William Nylander. Did score a goal. Very nice hand-eye coordination, a little double tap, pop, and puts it over the glove of Lucas Dostal. But he was just all over the place tonight. You mentioned it a couple of times, in alone on a breakaway. Just his skating was there. He had a good stride tonight. And, the puck skills are obviously there with the hand-eye. Just, sometimes it's going to be nights where he's a little unlucky. And I think that was one of them, because he probably could have had 2 goals, maybe 3 goals tonight.
He was all over the place. Like, I don't know.
He needed, because he was awful, horrendous against Jersey. So he needed to bounce back, and he got it.
He needed to bounce back, and it was almost like Anaheim didn't take notice when he was on the ice, which I don't know how you let the Leafs leading goal scorer kind of get freed up for opportunities like he had tonight. And again, this was that, like, the rush chances. That's kind of where, he's good at cycling the puck. He's good at breaking it out, but he's so dangerous off the rush. That, like, there were so many, even like missed breakaway passes tonight. Like, guys just weren't getting them right on. Like, if he got hit clean, he would have had another 2 or 3 breakaways in this game. Like, that's the type of night that he had. And now that you have another scoring threat on that line with Pacioretty versus a Pontus Holmberg, teams now have to respect that other option, and that's going to give Nylander that little extra space. And we know, and it's funny because I wasn't sure about having Nylander with Tavares, but there's something about when they added Pacioretty to that trio that it brings the best out of Nylander now. And it's like, don't touch that pairing until that trio until they're not scoring anymore. But that was a trio that was, doing some damage a few weeks ago or a month ago. Actually, a month and a half ago?
A bit, yeah.
I'm curious to see how long this is going to last, because it's something that this team really needs.
Yeah, absolutely they do. And it came through for them tonight. All 3 goals scored by, the 2 players on that line. One, I guess, was technically a power play goal. Or, no, they're all 3 were at 5-on-5, actually. They didn't score on the power play, right? Yeah, all 3 were at 5. I think the one came like right afterward.
It was like almost a few, like 20 seconds after the penalty was over.
Yeah. But solid night from that second line for sure. So they take up the first and second star. Who got your third star, Dave?
I went with this pretty solid return for Jake McCabe in that pairing with Chris Tanev. I know it wasn't exactly the most dominant night. I think they were on the ice for the second goal, but like you see the comfort of having those 2 on the ice anytime you just need a good defensive zone shift, a good. We've been playing a little too loosey goosey. Let's throw. I was literally like calling for McCabe and Tanev to come over the boards at some points in this game, because I feel like the Leafs were just allowing too much space with Anaheim, and when those 2 are on the ice, that space goes away. They're right on guys, right on pucks. Jake McCabe should have had a goal tonight. He had 1 goal off the bar, and yeah, his absence was noted, and I think him coming back, it just makes everyone play a little more with a little more comfort knowing that he's back there behind, cleaning up some messes.
Yeah, I actually went and I did some digging. I was on gameplay today, so I was just searching up some numbers and trying to see, okay, Jake McCabe's making his return tonight. Like, what have the stats been like with and without Jake McCabe? And look, I found a couple of kind of damning, I guess, stats for the Maple Leafs. With Jake McCabe in the lineup prior to the injury, the team was third in the NHL or fifth in the NHL in expected goals against in the 5 games of his absence while he was not in the lineup. And the team did not have Jake McCabe, and they were forced to play OEL out of position. And, everyone else had to move up. You ended up getting Philip Myers in the top 4 role. What happened? The team's expected goals against dropped to 30th in the NHL over the course of those 5 games. High danger chances up significantly over the course of that stretch as well. So that just goes to show how important of a player Jake McCabe is to this team. And it's not just his shot blocking ability, it's the play killing ability. And he could just kill plays and then get the puck out of danger, right? He'll absolutely brutalize guys in front of the net and make it difficult for you to go in front of the net. I mean, let's take a look at tonight's heat map because it really does go to show. Hold on, let me just try and pull up the game report for tonight. Where is it here? Yeah, there we go. The heat map from tonight just goes to show how difficult the Leafs made it for the Anaheim Ducks to come and play in the kitchen of the goaltender. Look at this comparison right here. There is absolutely
what happened against New Jersey. Yeah.
Complete opposite of New Jersey. There is nothing in front of the goaltender or in the crease or within a few feet. Everything was at least, 10 feet out from the crease and mainly kind of just around the dots, right? That's where everything was kind of shot from, which is the complete opposite if you're looking at Toronto. Beat red out there all in front of the crease. They were in the kitchen all night long. All 3 goals coming from within the inner slot, below the hash marks, out in front. And that's how you're going to win hockey games. And Jake McCabe doing a great job protecting the front of the net, along with everyone else. I thought that Simon Benoit had a good game tonight as well. Obviously, OEL had a good game, no longer having to play a quote-unquote shutdown role. So I thought overall, again, him coming into the lineup just kind of slots everybody a little bit better. And he himself is just so good at killing plays and so good at getting the puck out of danger and getting the puck up into the forwards and creating offense, transitioning the puck up the other way. And he was doing that quite frequently again tonight. Although I did have Auston Matthews as my 3rd star because I thought he had a lot of good opportunities to score tonight as well. Unfortunately, did not. But he was second on the team in individual expected goals tonight, ended up with 6 shots on net. I thought he was going to score in tight alone against Dostal, but a couple times he had his number. And it's weird. It may just be that type of season because I was convinced that overtime winner was going to kind of springboard Matthews into some sort of big goal scoring streak and really get his season going. But seems to just be snake bitten. Seems like he's either missing the net by just a little bit, or goalies are figuring him out and they're getting a piece of the puck. They're robbing him with the glove. Just doesn't seem to be Matthews' year, huh?
Yeah, it's just like those opportunities that he was getting just aren't there right now, and I don't know. Like it's just like
I think they're there. They're just not finishing.
It's just like
not finishing. The shooting percentage is down 7% from his career average.
He's getting like the one chance he had that I was like, he's just a little too in tight.
Yeah.
And maybe he's trying really hard to, he wants to get to those areas, which is good, but it's also like, you're also a really good shooter, right? Like maybe that's something he's working on. He's just got to work on getting that shot to the level he knows it can be, right? Because we haven't really seen a lot of those like one-timers and when he's shooting off the rush, he wants to get really in tight with the goalie, which again, yeah, I get it. It means that the goalie doesn't have as much time to react, but it's also he's got the accuracy. So I don't know if he's just working his way back to it. But Yeah, it is really puzzling because I think he's got that burst, he's got that drive that
Mm-hmm.
we've seen.
The
It's just
nose for the
the
net.
rest of it's just not there right now.
Yeah, 61.9% in the face-off circle as well. Good night in the dot tonight for Auston Matthews too. Was credited with a couple of blocks, a hit, and yeah. So Matthews, I thought he had a pretty good game for himself. Gave him the 3rd star of the night. All right. Anything else that stuck out to you? You were obviously in the building that you want to bring up about the game.
Um, I made fun of Ryan Reeves at one point with a buddy, just saying like, guy just doesn't really have any offensive instincts, and he goes and he almost sets up Jake McCabe for a backdoor pass. So that was funny, but yeah, no, I thought like I'm like Pontus Homer didn't have as good of a night in my opinion. Like he was skating hard, drew 2 penalties, but he had opportunities where they threw the puck on his stick and he either had one hand on it or he just couldn't corral the pass. He's got to find a way to get some offense. Otherwise, he's one of the guys like when Bobby McMahon comes back, he might be the one I'm looking to. If Ryan Reeves is not coming out of the lineup, it might be him coming out, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's very possible that could end up being the case, especially since like Minton's played decently well over the last little bit. He might be earning himself a regular spot in the lineup. So there's other guys around the peripheries, and Pontus Holmberg's one of them. Nick Robertson spent the past couple of games up in the press box. It seems like he's kind of withering away up there at this point, pretty far down on the depth chart. I think when you talk about them needing to put guys on waivers, Robertson might be at the top of the list, unfortunately. Speaking of waivers, actually, there was a waiver claim. I don't know if you saw it. Dakota Mermies got claimed by the Utah Hockey Club. So we're back to that nonsense again, huh? Where everyone's claiming all these Maple Leafs.
Off to Utah.
Yeah, off to
Don't
Utah.
think that's where he thought his career was going to be going.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Yeah. Off to Utah. Didn't play a single game for the Maple Leafs. Not a single game. But no one really expected it. He was anticipated to be.
They wanted to try to sneak him into the Marlies, but yeah, Utah's got like no defensemen. So like, we'll take a fly. Hey, if he goes back on waivers, Leafs can get him back and put him into the Marlies. So
yeah, exactly.
That.
Oh, I thought actually one other thing too that the Leafs are pretty good at tonight. I thought that they were very, very puck hungry. I thought that they were doing a good job engaging and winning puck battles all night long. They're pressuring puck carriers, produced 20 turnovers tonight. 20 turnovers for and giveaways for the Anaheim Ducks. And a lot of that was just pressure and, just a really, really good stick by the Maple Leafs. And create a couple of second, third opportunities, some added waves of offensive zone time and pressure. And that's to me when the Leafs are at their best, when they're doing that, when like Mitch Marner's batting pucks out of the zone or batting pucks out of the air to keep the O zone alive. And look, that opportunity we're talking about with Matthews in tight, that was created off of a turnover of him at the blue line, keeping the puck in, and Matthews already in deep, right? Just anticipating that play. So I thought they did a really good job of that tonight. And I want to see that more going forward because that's been a big issue too, is Toronto, especially the last few games here, last 15 games, actually, their expected goals is hovering around 45%. So since November 1st, hovering around 45%. It's not good. That's not enough offense for a team that has always been known for their offense. And I think a way to make sure that they can get back to that is by getting those second, third opportunities, those extended zone times by forcing those turnovers. I thought they did a really good job of that tonight. That was something as a team, as a group that I thought they did well. So I want to shout that out as well as, I guess, an honorary team star for the Maple Leafs. They got a couple more games this weekend. Got a back-to-back against Detroit, against Buffalo. And, we'll talk about both of those things coming up on the other side. I'm Mike DiStefano with Dave Morassutti. You're listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
Today's edition of the Locked On Leafs podcast is brought to you by Indeed. We're driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Ditch the busy work and use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates fast. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences. So the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. So join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of the show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/locked on. So that is Indeed.com/locked on right now, and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
The Locked On Leafs podcast continues. The Mike DiStefano and Dave Morassutti. Toronto with a 3-2 win over the Anaheim Ducks last night. They'll have Friday off before getting ready for another back-to-back. And that's also a big reason for maybe why Anthony Stolarz, came up lame tonight. They've played quite a lot of hockey over the course of these last couple of weeks. I mean, between, was it December 3rd or December 1st and the 21st, the first 21 days of the month, I think there was 11 games scheduled in that span. So it's a lot of hockey that's been being played. And this is the first time in a few weeks that we've had a goaltender play back-to-back starts, not back-to-back days, but back-to-back starts. Stolarz stood on his head against Jersey, was granted the start tonight, and only made it through 20 minutes of play before leaving with injury. So he will find out tomorrow, hopefully, what the situation is and how long-term or short-term, whatever term this injury is, the severity of it will be known, I'm sure, in the next 24 hours. So keep an eye on our Twitter accounts, and I'm sure we'll have an update for you at Locked On Leafs on Twitter. But that means that it's time for Joseph Full to step up, and he was already going to start one of the games this weekend, but you think there's a possibility he's asked to start both games? Not a chance, right?
No. First off, the second game is against Buffalo. You don't. I know you don't. You don't take any NHL team lightly.
Oh, it's not that. But when did the Leafs ever beat Buffalo?
This is also true. But this is the key. Those were the key Leafs. This is the Brewer Bay Leafs. It's different now. So we hope. But yeah. I think you look at, like, they played 6 games in 13 days. That's, I mean, obviously after the stretch they had where they literally were playing like 3 games. Yeah, like, so this has been 5 every other day
in 8-day span, stuff like that. Yeah.
So it's a lot of hockey, and, like, again, we're looking at a Stolarz who hasn't had this type of workload before, and this is why they were doing the rotation, because you don't need to put an unnecessary amount of stress. Well, I wouldn't even say stress, but just workload that he's
physical stress on your joints, like physically.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Right. So this is the time where you use both goaltenders like you have. So now the other thing that complicates their plan is Matt Murray got hurt. Haven't heard a single word about what's going on with him. He probably would have been a guy you could have looked to call up, or Dennis Hildeby. And yeah, it'll likely be if now they're gonna wait until they hear more about Stolarz before they truly know for sure what they need to do. But I would assume that you're likely going to hear a Hildeby call up at some point. He'd probably be the one to get called up, because I mean, Aktiniamo's played incredibly. Picked up another win. He's 8-0-1 to start his season, but you let him play like the only other goaltender they have signed right now is Peksa, and he's all the way down in Cincinnati. So he would probably get called up to be with the Marlies.
Wow, that was a really bizarre. I completely forgot that the Growlers were not a thing anymore.
Yeah.
And it's now the Cincinnati Cyclones.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, because it would have been just like, all right, just call one of the Marley goalies up. Well, now the Marlies have to find another goalie too, because I don't think Murray.
Which isn't it's not a difficult thing to do.
I
Like
mean,
they
you
can
can
play
also even
text stuff.
just sign a guy for a PTO for a game as well. We've seen
Yeah.
AHL teams do the Marlies were doing that for quite a bit. They were just finding somebody that, a guy near an ECHL team, although there's fewer ones in Canada now, that makes it a little more difficult to do something like that.
Oh, that was
Yeah.
the D'Agostini. The
Yeah,
D'Agostini signing.
Granted Beast. I talked to D'Agostini a few times about that. It was, it was a nice little chunk of change versus an ECHL game check. AHL
That
pays
is
a
true.
little better.
That is true.
So yeah, this will be the situation to watch. Obviously, we'll watch to see also Bobby McMahon's close. I think they want to see him get a few practices to see how he's doing. Maybe he gets into a game this weekend, but with the way when we hear a guy is close, that doesn't necessarily mean the next day he's playing. That could mean he's close. We'll see him in about a week and a half, 2 weeks.
It kind of felt like it's been that way, but I could see him maybe getting in on Sunday against the Sabres.
Yeah.
I could see that possibly being the case. Like maybe he doesn't make the trip to Detroit, so they're in Detroit on Saturday, and then they come back home and play the Sabres at Scotiabank Arena on Sunday. I could see them saying, "All right, Bobby, just stay in town, see how you feel. Maybe get a skate in on Saturday, put some work in. If you feel good, we can activate you on Sunday and get one fresh body out there on the back-to-back. Perhaps I could see that being the case. David Kampf was also spotted skating at practice today. No timeline on him though, so he's not nearly as
close as
yeah, he's
what
not
Burbe
close.
said.
Yeah, he's not close right
So
now.
he's about 2 months away.
Well,
okay, well, yeah, he's probably a few weeks away. I don't know what his LTIR status is either.
Dave? Are you suggesting Robidas Island for David Kampf?
No, that's already been used. Right now, it's being occupied by Calle Jarnkrok. I don't know if there's enough room on the island right now for David Kampf because they brought him back from the island to let him skate.
I don't know.
First rule of Robidas Island: the guy can't be out in public, and you see him actually.
Lupo was. Remember, Lupo was out there, and Kadri's like, "Oh yeah, he looks good. Looks like he's ready to come back." And the Leafs were like, "No, actually, he's not. He's going back to Robidas Island." Maybe the same thing will happen to David Kampf.
I wouldn't. I don't. You know what? Like I haven't missed him. Connor Drew has been doing pretty well on that line. Guy's a good player.
Honestly, I somewhat agree with that. Like Kampf, he's good at what he does. I guess is just like a fourth line defensive penalty kill specialist. But he's paid a little bit too much, and I mean, with the emergence of Fraser Minton kind of maybe solidifying himself as the 3C for this team. Now all of a sudden you're looking and it's like Connor Dewar can do a more than fine job as the 4C for this team. Like he can also kill penalties and he's a much better skater and a forechecker and probably similar puck skills, maybe even a little bit better. But yeah, I'm with you. I think I would be on board if the Leafs found a taker for David Kampf. And I've been saying this for forever. And I said it about Liljegren, which apparently teams are willing to actually pay assets for him. That still kind of blows my mind, to be honest with you. And maybe there are teams willing to pay assets for David Kampf, but a guy who's got 2 more years left on his deal, I doubt that's the case considering he's making $2.4 million. But again, if you could somehow attach like Nick Robertson as the quote unquote sweetener to move on from David Kampf, move on from Nick Robertson, have a team who wants to bring in the leadership of Kampf and maybe take a flyer on Robinson, wipe your hands clean of both those players, and then boom, you've got space for Connor Dewar, you've got space for Fraser Minton, and maybe when Calle Jarnkrok comes back, he's someone who at least gives you offense in the bottom 6 that Kampf was unable to provide you. So I would be okay with them finding a new home for Kampf just because of the emergence of a couple of other guys. Lorentz is another player who's more than capable of playing 4C if need be, if a couple injuries pop up.
Yeah, they have options, which is what like the reason why David Kampf was signed was because they're like, oh, who are we actually gonna get, right? Like they knew David Kampf. I just couldn't believe that they gave him the term that they gave him, but
term or dollar figure, all
both.
of it was bad.
Yeah, all of it was just not. That was like the first signing for Brad Living. I'm just like, why did that have to be the first one? Why were you in such a rush?
And then the second one was Ryan Reeves, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we were off to a blazing start to the
and then John Klingberg was like the next one. And then the next day on July 2nd,
yeah, then we're like,
Bertuzzi and Domi came through. I'm like, okay, all right, we're in business now. Yeah, that was an interesting 48 hours here on the Locked On Leafs podcast. Yeah. All right, buddy. Well, we'll see. A weekend back-to-back against two opponents who the Leafs should beat. They are better than both. The Red Wings, they kind of stink. The Sabres can't stop pucks. So, again, if Toronto's looking for a get-right game, a weekend or a night to get that offense rolling and cooking and, see some 5-on-5 production, I would imagine these two teams provide you an opportunity to do that. So hopefully that is the case and the Leafs can get going offensively. And we're approaching 30 games now. 30 games in. It's time to get her going. Definitely time to get going.
For sure.
All right, buddy. That'll do it for us here today on the podcast. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on Twitter at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at D_Morassutti and follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. We'll be back with another episode for you guys on Monday. Enjoy the games this weekend. Saturday in Detroit. Sunday, they're hosting the Sabres. Enjoy them. Go Leafs, go. We'll chat again on Monday. Until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.